We have a major new development out of the New Mexico Truth Commission investigating Epstein and what he and perhaps other co-conspirators did on Zorro Ranch for 26 years. That's how long Jeffrey Epstein owned the property in New Mexico. And this is the first time a real investigation has been opened into Epstein's sex trafficking. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. Now, as we know, there's actually multiple investigations now into Jeffrey Epstein's ranch and what exactly happened there. A big development just occurred with the Truth Commission. The Truth Commission was created by the New Mexico legislature, and its purpose is to be an investigative commission in order to really uncover the truth of what happened on that ranch. For 26 years, he owned that property, and it was never investigated, the conduct that he did there. In fact, one of the state representatives on the Truth Commission said that after Epstein's death, New Mexico had opened up an investigation around that time, and they had thought about securing the ranch upon his death and were both basically told by the federal DOJ to stand down. This is why the ranch was never secured. The first time the ranch was searched was this March. It was searched by the New Mexico law enforcement, who is opening up its own criminal investigation into what happened there. Of course, this is many years later, and the property was sold in 2023. Whether or not they are finding something or not, we have not heard the results of that. It's a 7,500 acre property. But in the meantime, this Truth Commission heard testimony from Virginia Giuffre's family about what she had told law enforcement in the many interviews she gave during the many probes that basically went nowhere with Epstein, about how she was trafficked and abused in that Zorro Ranch. And so that testimony, in addition to, of course, what has been uncovered with what has been released in the Epstein files, which named Zorro Ranch and New Mexico and really prompted the creation of this Truth Commission, they have issued 14 subpoenas. They've issued 14 subpoenas, and these subpoenas will be going to a variety of departments. If they're sending it to the FBI, the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Mexico, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the Federal Aviation Administration, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase, the New Mexico Department of Public Safety, the New Mexico Department of Justice, the Officer of the Governor of New Mexico, the New Mexico State Land Commissioner, the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department, and the Santa Fe Institute. That last one is a nonprofit there that evidently, according to the newly released Epstein files, Epstein had donated something like $680,000, but they only show records of like $280,000. And then he also had associates that were part of that institute. So they are really trying to get to the bottom of this. They're also asking for survivors to come out and talk. And really, the Truth Commission has put together a website that is so disturbing. I mean, everything about the Epstein files and the fact that Epstein has gotten away with so much, his co-conspirators have gotten away so much, the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is being sent to Cushy jail is disturbing. But the amount of what happened in New Mexico and the fact that it was never investigated, the Truth Commission's own website going through the timeline. It's interesting because he bought that land in 1993, actually from the former governor, Governor Bruce King. Not to say that the former governor knew what Epstein was doing, but just to show how connected he was even back then, purchasing this land from the former governor, and his realtor was the former representative. You know, this is way back in 1993. And they talk about the number of victims who have said that abuse occurred to them in Zorro Ranch. In addition to Virginia Giuffre, Rachel said that she was abused at the ranch from 1999 to 2000. And then, of course, the Farmer sisters back in 1996, so long ago. Virginia Giuffre said her abuse happened between 2000 and 2002. So long ago. Of course, as we know, these victims were ignored, and that's why more people or more girls and young women were victimized. But them laying out how much happened, and they are including also the allegation reported by the New York Times that in 2008 to 2019, they're saying, quote, in the aftermath of his 2008 sex trafficking conviction, Epstein hoped to seed the human race with his DNA by impregnating women at Zorro Ranch. And they quote the New York Times, which this conspiracy theory has been out there. And it sounds so shocking, and it sounds so much like a conspiracy theory. But here we are. This is on a government website, the New Mexico Truth Commission website, as part of their timeline of what they are trying to investigate to find out what did or did not happen on the ranch. Take a listen to another victim who said that abuse occurred, that she suffered abuse at Zorro Ranch, and how creepy she thought it was. And she talks about that conspiracy theory as well. Take a listen.
Yes, my darkest memories is from Zorro Ranch. The property itself is just very isolated and has a very eerie feeling to it. I found myself a lot of times that I would spend there just basically sitting in my room like a mouse in a cage, just waiting to be preyed on. Like, that's what it felt like.
And there is now an investigation into the ranch at New Mexico to find out what went on there, if anything. What do you think they could find? Well,
I mean, I don't want to like dive into any conspiracy theories here, but there's certainly some horrid information circulating as far as theories of what could have gone on there, as far as babies being born or women having gynecological exams while under the influence of something, like waking up with, in some weird room. Again, I don't know if that has any truth to it, but it's just things that I'm now hearing, and it makes me wonder, because I did always get such a creepy vibe there, that maybe there's a lot more that we haven't unraveled with that property.
This Truth Commission has a specific timeline. They have to issue an interim report of what's been happening with them so far in about a month. They have to wrap it all up at the end of the year. This, to me, seems to be the most important Epstein investigation happening right now, because the House Oversight Committee, headed up by the Republicans, seems to be more of a dog and pony show, more of a way to make us believe as if they're investigating without actually investigating. The whole fact that Pam Bondi, who was literally in charge of releasing the Epstein files, was allowed to speak not under oath and refused to answer questions about what the president of the United States, who was in the Epstein files and who had told Marjorie Taylor Greene he didn't want his friends to get hurt, how she was able to not answer the question of what the president directed her and not directed her to do, shows really what a farce that is. I mean, of course, it's good that at least some people are coming in. We know that Epstein's assistant came in. She evidently named names. We will definitely report on that once that transcript is released. But the fact that they are not even allowing Pam Bondi to testify shows they are circling the wagons around certain people. And this New Mexico Truth Commission is perhaps far enough removed from Washington, and they seem to very much care about the integrity of what happened in their state. They want to right the wrong of the fact that it was not ever properly investigated there, because really this is the only location where he was not ever charged. Whatever you want to think about his non-prosecution agreement in 2008, his conduct in Palm Beach, was, I guess, the U.S. Virgin Island. His island would be another location. But in terms of Palm Beach, it was. In terms of New York, it was. Here, New Mexico wasn't. They seem to want to right the wrong. We know there was earlier reporting they have hired an outside legal counsel in order to help them investigate, which to me also is a very good sign. Outside legal counsels are often employed. Corporations that have some sort of a scandal, they hire outside legal counsels to help investigate because they want impartiality. They want it to make sure it's legal. And they want to be able to trust the investigation. So all very good signs, not only with the actual physical search that occurred in March, also these subpoenas that they are going to be issuing out. Very important in terms of the banks specifically. As Senator Wyden has said over and over, follow the money when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And this Truth Commission putting up this website, trying to keep this very transparent, very accurate, trying to disclose to the American people. Representative Stansbury, who is from New Mexico and also on the House Oversight Committee, also spoke just recently about how encouraging she thinks this is.
So we're eager to see what these subpoenas produce. And also New Mexico made history. This is the first time our legislature in New Mexico has had to issue subpoenas. And this is what a real investigation looks like. So we're very proud of the work that they're doing. And we're also very excited because the anti-weaponization fund that Donald Trump was trying to get passed to give $1.8 billion to his friends in January 6th was essentially killed by the courts and by Americans just like you speaking up, speaking out, and calling your members of Congress.
This New Mexico Truth Commission giving me some hope that we are going to get to the bottom of this. And we need to, because those girls deserve justice. And frankly, we need to make sure this isn't continuing to happen. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel if you haven't already. Find the Mistrial podcast, which you're listening to now, wherever you listen to your podcast. And be sure to check out the Mistrial sponsors in the link below. So grateful in this time of really extreme censorship that they support me and us saying what we need to say. So please check out our sponsors.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.